The night started innocently enough, just a drive to escape the suffocating silence of my apartment. I had no real reason to be out, just a restless urge to break free from the weight of a brutal week. Work had been relentless, my boss piling on last-minute tasks, my inbox a chaotic mess, and lunch a forgotten luxury. By the time I got home, exhaustion clung to me like a second skin, but lying in bed wasn't an option. My thoughts would only spiral, so I grabbed my keys and left. The city at night had a strange allure, wet pavement gleaming under streetlights, neon signs flickering like dying stars, distant sirens humming faintly. It felt like I was the only one left in the world, and maybe that's what I wanted. With the windows down, cool air whipped through my hair, carrying away the day's tension. The radio played something soft and slow, amplifying the loneliness of the night as I turned onto a quiet, tree-lined road, dimly lit by sporadic street lamps. I'd driven this road countless times when I needed to be alone with my thoughts. But I wasn't alone that night. Red and blue lights flashed in my rearview mirror, snapping me out of my reverie. My stomach lurched, fingers tightening on the steering wheel. A cop. My mind raced. Had I been speeding? Run a light? Forgotten to signal? I pulled over, heart pounding, fumbling to turn down the radio as the patrol car stopped behind me. A tall, athletic figure stepped out, her uniform crisp, badge glinting faintly. Even in the dim light, her sharp jawline and dark, unreadable eyes stood out. She approached with quiet confidence, and I rolled down my window, trying to keep my face neutral. "Evening. License and registration," she said, her voice low, authoritative, devoid of warmth. I nodded, hands unsteady as I handed over my ID and papers. She glanced at them, then back at me, her gaze piercing, like she already knew something I didn't. The silence stretched, heavy and tense, before she spoke again. "Step out of the vehicle." A chill ran through me. "Is there a problem, officer?" I asked, voice wavering. "Step out of the car," she repeated, her tone brooking no argument. I hesitated for a moment, then opened the door and stepped onto the pavement. The night air was cool, but it did nothing to ease the knot in my stomach. She moved closer, her presence commanding, her face still unreadable. "Turn around, hands on the car." I complied, pressing my palms against the cold metal, my heartbeat loud in my ears. "This is just a routine search," she said, her voice quieter now. Her hands started at my shoulders, firm but not rough, moving down my arms, slow and deliberate. I became hyper-aware of every touch, her fingers brushing my back, my sides, then lower. When they slid past my waist to my thighs, lingering just a second too long, I froze. Her touch grazed somewhere it shouldn't have, deliberate but not forceful. I inhaled sharply, my body tensing, but I didn't pull away. Neither did she. A charged silence hung between us, electric and heavy. My pulse raced, my skin burning where her hands had been. "You're clear," she said, stepping back, her voice low, almost unreadable, but with a hint of something beneath the surface. I turned slowly, meeting her eyes, and saw a flicker of something dangerous, forbiddance. The world was eerily quiet, the faint hum of streetlights and rustling trees the only sounds. She stood a few feet away, hands on her belt, posture rigid, but with a subtle shift, hesitation maybe. I gripped the car door, my fingers trembling, still feeling the echo of her touch. "That wasn't really a routine search, was it?" I asked, my voice breaking the stillness. Her jaw clenched, her eyes faltering for a split second before her mask snapped back into place. "I was doing my job," she said firmly. "Your job?" I repeated, incredulous. "Your job includes putting your hands where they don't belong?" She exhaled, shifting uncomfortably. "You're free to go," she said, softer now, like a warning. But I couldn't let it go. "Why'd you stop me then?" "Really?" I pressed. "You shouldn't be out here alone this late," she said, evading the question. "I think you knew I wasn't a threat," I said, stepping closer, testing the electric tension between us. "I think you stopped me for a different reason, but you don't want to admit it, do you?" Her jaw twitched, and she looked away briefly before her eyes snapped back to mine, guarded. "You should go home," she said, her tone final. I should have listened, should have driven away, but my feet felt glued to the pavement. Her touch still lingered in my mind, the way her fingers had pressed into me, searing through my clothes. I didn't hate it, I wanted it. You don't have to pretend, I said softly. Her eyes flashed with something anger or something more dangerous. Get in your car, she snapped, turning sharply toward her patrol car, her movements stiff, like she was fighting herself. I watched her go, my heart hammering. Her fists clenched as she walked, like she was trying to escape something, me or herself. I slid into the driver's seat, gripping the wheel, but didn't pull away immediately. In the rearview mirror, I saw her standing by her car, back to me, shoulders tense. For a moment, I hoped she'd turn around, but she didn't. I pressed the gas, tires crunching against gravel as I drove off, my mind stuck on her touch, her hesitation, the line she'd crossed. The drive home was a blur, my hands gripping the wheel too tightly, adrenaline still coursing through me. I thought the tension would fade, but it clung to me. At home, I sank onto the couch, running a hand through my hair, the silence of my apartment deafening again. I grabbed my phone, scrolling aimlessly, but my thoughts kept returning to her. On impulse, I searched her name, Officer Jade Carter. A few social media profiles popped up, nothing too personal, but her face was unmistakable, strong jawline, piercing eyes, always guarded. I hesitated, knowing this was a bad idea, but couldn't stop wondering if I'd see her again. 2 weeks later, it was a Friday night, and I'd gone out for drinks with friends, needing to clear my head. After an hour, I slipped outside for air and saw her leaning against her patrol car at the edge of the lot near a dimly lit bar. She wasn't looking at me, but I felt her awareness. My breath caught. This wasn't a coincidence. Did you follow me here? I asked, voice low. Her jaw clenched, eyes flicking to mine. You shouldn't be out here alone, she said, echoing that night. That's not an answer, I said, stepping closer. Why did you stop me that night? She exhaled slowly, fists tightening. I don't know, she admitted, raw and honest. I didn't expect that. Before I could respond, she reached out, then pulled back like she'd caught herself. You should go back inside, she murmured, voice rough. But I didn't move. Something about her, the storm in her eyes, the tension in her body kept me there. Why do you care? I asked, challenging her. Her eyes flickered to my lips, her fingers twitching. You're a terrible liar, officer, I said, stepping so close our chests nearly touched. What are you so afraid of, Jade? She sighed sharply, and then she snapped. Her hands grabbed my waist, shoving me against her patrol car. Her lips crashed into mine, rough and desperate, a collision of heat and restraint. I gasped, fisting her shirt, pulling her closer. Her tongue deepened the kiss, tasting of coffee and something forbidden. Her hands gripped my hips, lifting me against the car, my legs wrapping around her waist. She kissed me like I was her last breath, her hands tracing fire across my skin, her lips trailing down my neck, biting and soothing. I hate you, she growled against my skin. No, you don't, I laughed breathlessly. Then a voice cut through, Officer Carter. Another officer stood at the edge of the lot, her radio crackling. We froze. Jade dropped me, stumbling back, her face unreadable again. The other officer, older, skeptical, eyed us. Everything okay here, Carter? Yeah, Jade said, not looking at me, slipping back into her role. I pushed off the car, brushing past her. I was just leaving, I said flatly, walking to my car without looking back. Through the windshield, I saw her standing there, rigid, as the other officer spoke to her. Our eyes met for a second, and I saw everything she wasn't saying: fear, want, regret. But she'd made her choice, so I made mine. I drove away. Back at my apartment, the silence was suffocating. My phone buzzed, but I ignored it, sinking onto the couch, trying to shake the ache in my chest. Then came a hard, urgent knock at the door. I froze, thinking I'd imagined it, but it came again. I opened the door, and there was Jade, uniform wrinkled, hair messy, eyes desperate. She stepped inside, grabbed my face, and kissed me again, fierce and consuming. My hands tore at her uniform, hers at my shirt, until we were skin against skin, her lips on my neck, my hands in her hair. The world faded, and we gave in completely, every touch electric, kiss searing. We crossed every line and it felt right. I woke to her soft breaths beside me, morning light filtering through the curtains. My body ached, a mix of guilt and desire lingering. Jade stirred, her eyes meeting mine, confusion and regret flickering in them. "Morning," she mumbled. "Did we really?" "Yeah," I said, throat tight. Silence stretched between us. "So," she started, voice neutral, "I guess that makes us—" "Don't!" I cut her off, pulling the blanket tighter. She smiled faintly, teasing, "You don't want to admit we crossed a line?"